Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, wherever you're joining us today in today's live lecture coming to you from Nkolo Mahadum Wisdom University. Today's date is our market day in the Igbo lunar calendar and 12/9/2025 in the Roman Catholic calendar. Remember that at Nkolo Mahadum, we always advise you to use your naturally given common sense, which we call akonuche in Igbo language. And we always advise you to see things from how it concerns you, not how it concerns other cultures. Also because we are Igbo-centric, Biafran-centric, and African-centric. That's why we encourage you to always subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok. And now we are live on YouTube, we are live on Facebook, we are live on TikTok. So please join us as we go through today's presentation. Also, don't forget to like, comment, and share. Share it to everybody. The title of today's lecture is Hamza al-Mustapha. Hamza al-Mustapha, who was General Sani Abacha, Chief Security Advisor. The interview he had with Brackett family. That interview exposed the problem of Nigeria and Africa. That is why we deem it necessary, important to use that interview as the basis, as the foundation for our lecture today. And so, before we continue, we have to give you just a brief information about Hamza al-Mustapha. Hamza al-Mustapha was born on July 27th, 1960. He is a retired Nigerian Army Major, intelligence officer, and politician. Remember his qualifications. He's a retired Nigerian Army Major, intelligence officer, and politician, who served as Chief Security Officer to Head of State, General Sani Abacha, from 1993 to 1998. So within 5 years, before Abacha died on June 8, 1998. This is whom Hamza al-Mustapha is. And he's been talking in Nigeria. And on June 8th, al-Mustapha claimed the ticket as the presidential candidate of Action Alliance for the 2023 general election. So it was the interview he hosted before the election of 2023 that brought in Tinubu. So he ran under Action Alliance as their presidential candidate. And recently, this June again, I think he has also announced that he's running for president in 2027. According to Punch newspaper, former Chief Security Officer to late Head of State, General Sani Abacha, Major Hamza al-Mustapha, has formally declared his intention to run for the president in 2027. Al-Mustapha said he will be contesting for the presidency under the Social Democratic Party. He disclosed this in Minna, Niger State, at a meeting with the State Executive Committee of SDP. So he will be running again for 2027. So let's watch out for him and see what else he has to say. But the interview we are presenting to you today that formed the basis, the foundation of our lecture today was the interview he had when he was running for president the interview he had in 2022 when he was running for presidential election that was held in 2023. So let us listen to him in that interview.
Invitation by Nigerians, old and young, elders, people we see as patriots who have served and seen experiences from.
And the credit for this interview goes to Bracket's Family Program of Tuesday, December 6, 2022. The credit for this video goes to Bracket Family Program. So let's continue to watch him now.
From North and South insist we should contest. We still refused and went into investigations and researches to know Nigeria because we don't want to make promises and then be given the responsibility only to fail. Thank God Almighty, 5 years, 8 months into what we have done in knowing Nigeria, besides what we knew before, we also had to go outside Nigeria and took dangerous and risky researches. I say dangerous because there were no-go areas, and we uncovered so many things that are extremely disturbing, disheartening for Nigeria. We have done it on our own, and we formed groups of young men and elders who are patriotic, and we are expanding the scope to understand that we cannot continue the way we have been. We have intellectuals, we have patriots, but we are being fooled. This we know, and we are bold to say it any day, anytime, and to anybody's eyes, because this is no longer a dark age. In the 60s, people were fooled, but now we believe time is here. We are here with lots of promises. We have a manifesto at the moment that is divided into 3. First is the normal problems everybody knows about Nigeria. Second segment of it is the preliminary solutions to our problems. And the third is the strategic problems or solutions to our problems that will take a long time and that we are protecting in our chest. We are giving it highly classification because of the in-depth research we have done. And that can only go to a very serious-minded leadership. If we're elected, that is our document. And the moment we take responsibility and we are sworn in as the president of Nigeria, definitely that is our document, and we shall systematically and concurrently get it executed for and on behalf of this country. Our belief is that from the little we have known, this is one of the richest countries on earth. It sounds fairy tale-like to even the intellectuals because they don't know their country. So this has brought us to the fore. And in doing this, we have unearthed numerous aspects of it, from the structures of government.
He said that what he's trying to tell us is from very thorough research. Even some of those research, they took a lot of risk to get information that he's about to present today here. And that most of the information they were giving Nigerians in the 1960s were all lies. And that Nigeria is one of the richest countries in the world. Let's continue to listen to him. Very, very, very important.
From the games and deceits, from duplication of departments and ministries all across Nigeria, from budget dirty politics, not only pardoning, but duplication and repetition of issues deliberately that is contained in budget that is not implementable, that nobody can defend. From what we saw to the unseen hands involved outside legislature, outside executive arm, previous governments and hands of people in it, from the dirty oil politics that gave birth to the killings of our leaders in the past. We have uncovered that. We went as far back as 1957. 1956, when oil was discovered in Oluibri, from the games there and the patriotism of our leaders. Excuses were given, coups were done. In all dirty politics, and the game is still on at this moment. There are 18 candidates at the moment looking at the threats, looking at the build-up on oil sector alone. If we are to continue with the routine, there is no hope for Nigeria. I'm a candidate, I'm a Nigerian. I have gone through Herculean phases of persecution, and I'm saying this boldly into the eyes of Nigeria for the love of this country and with fear of God Almighty. We are blinded. Some candidates amongst us are just there being fooled and being dragged. I'm one of them, and I look forward to an opportunity when elders, including members of Council of State, past leaders, can come together and ask numerous sensitive questions to realize who we are as Nigerians, who they were when they were in power, the games played against them that led to their failure, and where Nigeria is the true state of Nigeria today. And then the threats facing us as a country, to know that as leaders and as parents, we have a lot to do for our younger ones, and we must now take Nigeria out of where we are for a course to be adjusted that is safe for the younger ones to come. Free of rhetorics, we can no longer be telling lies to ourselves, to our people, and covering some people to continue. On the issue of oil alone, its discovery, 1956, and then the resolution of led Zik, the president of Nigeria, and Tafawa Balewa's government, the insistence that they will not accept to be exporting crude oil, only to be importing refined products, was the beginning of Nigeria's problems, unknown to many Nigerians. That was the real genesis of the coup that removed them. All other excuses as contained in our history is a lie. My name is Hamza al-Mustapha. I'm challenging any person, any historian, any institution, any person who believe that what they submitted as excuses for the coup as contained and being taught by generations and generations, including myself when we were younger, are lies. We have investigated and we have known. And to
what Hamza al-Mustapha is saying here is that since oil was discovered in 1956 in Nigeria, that was the problem, that is where Nigerian problem started. Because you know who is after the oil? Is the Westerners, is the colonial masters. They were after the oil. And then when Tafawa Balewa and Zik insisted that they want to build a refinery in Nigeria, they want to be exporting oil, refine the oil in Nigeria, and be exporting them to anybody that wants to buy it. That was why they had that January 1, 1966 coup that toppled Tafawa Balewa and Zik. The one that BBC lied and said that it is an Igbo coup. That coup is not an Igbo coup. It was a coup planned by the colonial masters to remove Tafawa Balewa and Zik because they refused. They insisted that they must have to build refineries in Nigeria in order to be exporting the oil by Nigeria to other parts of the world. That is an area I want people to listen to understand what happened. That the removal of Tafawa Balewa and Zik is not what they have been telling us, that it's a lie. And Hamza al-Mustapha challenged anybody, saying that if you know something better, that everything they've been telling us that it's an Igbo coup, it's a lie, that it is the refusal of Tafawa Balewa and Zik to dance to their tune that led to their removal. Let's continue to listen to him. It is very, very, very important interview that nobody will like to miss.
any son of a country who believe his leaders, his elders were killed yesterday as leaders for being patriotic to say that we must have a refinery. They began to build refinery. By 1965, refinery was ready, but excuses were given, they were removed. Many young men were given wrong literature, wrong informations, Tiny peanuts. Our leaders were killed. Reasons were given. We documented them in history. We are damn wrong. And this is painful. And some of us are coming to the fore.
So
to say that
the true story is they were killed because of the oil in Nigeria.
it's just the refinery in Port Harcourt. They are resolved to say, we are leaders and we must invest in Nigeria. That decision against exporting crude oil to be taken refinery, which today is called in the modern Nigeria subsidy, is the only game. Nobody can overcome it. We are 18 presidential candidates. I want to know that person who knows this. I want to know that candidate or those candidates who have the solution into turning Nigeria into a new course in alignment with the new world order. These are very bigger issues.
What Hamza al-Mustapha is revealing here, what he is exposing here, is the genesis of the oil subsidy that Nigerians and other African countries have been suffering for many years. For many years. That the genesis was when oil was discovered. These colonial masters, they came and said that they want the oil to be, the crude to be shipped outside to be refined and brought back. This is what they call subsidy. Then Zik and Tafawa Balewa said no, that they want to build refineries in Nigeria so that they can refine the oil in Nigeria and then export. The colonial masters then went underground and had a queue and removed them in order for their intention not to be actualized. And the refineries were ready for export before they had that queue, which they call an Igbo queue, which is not an Igbo queue. It's a queue planned by the colonial masters. This is what he's revealing. And that was the genesis of this oil subsidy that you've been hearing today, that has been going on for many years in Nigeria up to today. So let's continue to listen to him.
Issues, and that's why in the course of my discussions, I want to beg to say, where need be, give me more time because this will educate all of us. It's a challenge to all political parties, challenge to all political institutions, challenge to the government of the day, challenge to former presidents. And I want to see former leaders of Nigeria, including religious leaders, coming into a forum for us to tell ourselves the truth. After all, every other country you see on earth that succeeded, they sat back first and talked to themselves. It all started with the United Kingdom. On 1215, they sat down and talked to themselves. Say, we are gazing at the world. Unless we become the world lion, traverse across the world using diplomacy and our military might, we might not be whom we think we were. 1215. French did its own in 1714 or thereabout. And then later, United States, when there were 13 states, they did the same thing, opened their borders, and now dignify immigrants into America, and then allow everybody to come. They fought indigents, became who they became. It's sense. Japan, they did their own after the attack in Hiroshima, and they had two options: confrontation and revenge, or the solution of negotiation. They sat back, negotiated, became stronger, and began to fight. China, Mao Zedong, started his own also in the 40s. They realized that skill acquisition is the way out for a new world order. And that's why there are practical people, from leadership to the last common man. And that attitude called unism has brought them to the fore. Today, they are the world's largest market. We were once the same. And today, the latest you can see are Singapore and Malaysia. They applied their own love of their country, adjustments to suit their country first, not someone else. Unless Nigeria come together, understand who we are, what we have, and then give a direction. And in the real sense, that is the real word called restructuring. People don't understand. They misinterpret restructuring. What is restructuring?
What he's saying here is that what people are calling restructuring is actually Nigeria coming together to decide how to live together. He gave an example that even United Kingdom did their own, France did their own. United States did their own. China did their own. Japan did their own. Singapore did their own. That you need to come as a country and decide how you want to live. Who want to be here and who doesn't want to be here. That is what he's talking about. The Aburi Conference, which the Gowon administration rejected. The national, regional governments, which the federal government rejected. The restructuring that they're talking about is actually Nigerians coming together, sit down and decide who want to be a Nigerian, who want to be a Biafran, who want to be Oduduwa, who want to be Middle Belt. That's what he's talking about. That is the first thing that Nigeria have to do first to decide how they want to live. Do they want to live together or not? And that is what is called restructuring. Let's continue to listen to him.
Structuring a direction, consumption of a doctrine that will build your country where everybody will participate, where social justice will be all-encompassing, where the law of the land is upon everybody. But today in Nigeria, there are two classes, those above the law and the poor below the law. These are some of the tiny little ingredients that brought us to the fore. And if we are to go into the history of oil dirty politics in Nigeria, there is international dirty oil politics. There is domestic dirty oil politics in Nigeria.
Which one is international dirty oil politics?
That is the role of the international oil companies being utilized by foreign forces. The unseen hand from some certain foreign countries who have invested in our oil wrongly, bringing in government into the power. If you don't do what they want, they kick you out. I can run through and give you a tiny little example of numerous changes you have had that has retarded Nigeria.
Give us.
First of all, let me start this way to tell you that when Ledzik and Tafawa Balewa's decision came to the fore, that was a capital offense against the order given that time. Nigeria earned her independence. But in 1956, with the discovery of oil in Olu Ebri, in Port Harcourt, that was the beginning. In Bayelsa. So the first refinery was the consumption and acceptance of these leaders out of patriotism, out of love for the country. God has given us oil and we shall utilize it here. The world shall come to buy. And the point to serve and to improve and to develop are these leaders. They should be utilized. I mean, immortalized, respected, and to know that that was our direction. But they were outlived, killed, maimed, turned into nobody for the love of Nigeria. Ignorantly, there are elites who accepted a literature to say that they were at fault and all reasons in history were given, many of which are contradictory. That aside, in 1960 and 1965, that was the first experience. So the refinery was there, not commissioned. The first coup came, they were kicked out. And later, the genesis and mismanagement deliberately gave birth to the Civil War. But to be able to do damage to the Civil War, or before the Civil War, then Ironsi came to power. But to be able to do damage control and to show that the unseen foreign hand were not the ones that killed the first leaders of our first generation. Now, they honored Zik by him accepting to form a government of national unity. It was a damage control arrangement. So many of our elders were not aware.
It was just to cover
that
what
coup
the foreign countries did to Nigeria.
Using oil companies. And I will tell you a lot more. So this country need to adjust to know who we are and where we are. Here, he accepted, he was given national honor. He was also short-lived, but the damage control was partially done. General Gowon came to power. General Gowon, out of the same zeal, the same patriotism, he went ahead straight and committed the first offense unknown to him and known to his government.
What was the offense?
He built 3 refineries, one in Port Harcourt, one in Warri, and one in Kaduna.
So was it? How?
He built it right away. That's the first assignment he did out of patriotism.
And it was against the instructions.
Against the first instructions, the same offense committed by Zik and Tafawa Balewa's government was the same offense General Gowon came to commit, unknown to our elders at that time. That is why today, In all OPEC countries, there is a research going on. That's why we joined the bandwagon, going to know where we went wrong, how our leaders went wrong, and how we can get ourselves adjusted. We took it upon ourselves to do so. These are things you can't find in textbooks. You have to fight for, you have to scavenge for, and you have to make arrangements with international bodies to do so. And this dirty games is still becoming extremely much more dangerous now. When I come to the end, you will understand what I mean. It's extremely dangerous against our democracy, peace and security in Nigeria, and against our survival into the new world antics, the new world dirty order in dirty politics. I continue. General Gawan built, that was his offense. Now General Gawan stayed and now said, and I quote in one of his speeches, and people can research for this. At the time he conceived an idea, he said, with the 3 refineries we have just come up with, we shall build 5 more to be able to make.
So what Hamza al-Mustapha is exposing here is why we are having all the problems we are having in Nigeria. And the same way we are having this problem in Nigeria, the same way other African countries in this their artificial boundaries and countries are having the same problem. What you are listening to, what you are seeing today, the lecture you are enjoying today, what is going on in Nigeria is also going on in other African countries. That's what we want you to know. That as soon as oil was discovered in 1956, the foreign oil companies took over Nigeria. They took over Nigeria. And when Zik and Tafawa Balewa said that they want to build refineries in Nigeria so they can be selling oil from Nigeria to other parts of the world, these foreign oil companies said no. They didn't like it. That's why they had the coup to remove Tafawa Balewa and Zik. And then when UNC came to power, he tried to form government of national unity to cover up what killed, how that coup that killed Tafawa Balewa and Zik happened. Because that coup, everybody was lied to believe that it is an Igbo coup, which is not an Igbo coup. It's a coup instigated by the foreign oil companies because they want to take charge of the oil. And that is why since that time now, Nigeria never have a functioning refinery. They always carry all the raw crude to foreign outside to refine and bring back to Nigeria, which they call subsidy. And then the crime that Gowon committed was in building 3 additional refineries. When he built that refineries, that was when they also had a coup against him and removed him from power. Let's continue to listen to him. He made some revelations here that I want you to follow. Thank you.
Sure that there is adequate supply of oil and all the byproducts to the people, enough to themselves to do businesses and to live. A patriotic statement. That is foresight. But Gowon began to now receive blames indirectly. Literature being circulated. His government was being accused as being corrupt. It was patriotism. And here, the more you build, the more you invest in Nigeria, the more you are seen as enemy. And literature is sold to the same Nigerians you are serving, and they call you names. General Gowon later on was short-lived. So these 5 refineries that he planned could not come to fruition. General Gowon was removed. Flimsy excuses were given.
So Gowon was removed because, Tafawa Balewa and Zik built the 3 refineries. And then when General Gowon came in, he wanted to build 5 additional refineries in Nigeria. So Nigeria can be refining and selling their oils with other byproducts. You know that oil comes with other byproducts. And so when General Gowon did that, the foreign oil companies don't like that. And that was why they had a coup against him. So let's continue to listen to him.
Nigerians were used, fellow brothers into the same military were used. The flimsy excuses and the game played in removing General Gowon The day Nigerians get to know is something disturbing and dirty. And these same people are still elder statesmen in Nigeria today. We have known, I am the one speaking, my don't hide. If this country will go back to peace, will find its track, and now occupy her position as one of the, among the 10 richest from the knowledge we know. If Nigeria can attend that, I have done my work. And that's all I want. I'm not looking for any money.
But
I
Nigeria
want
to be among the
first 10 richest
countries in the world.
Nigeria is one of the best. This country is extremely rich. Our elders are told we are poor. They are playing on them. And we believe them because we have a culture of believing elders. That's why
he revealed that Nigeria, if run well, if organized well, is one of the 10 richest countries in the world. But, you know, the colonial masters will be calling you poor. They'll be calling African countries that they are poor, they are poor, they are poor. Meanwhile, they are the one exploiting the whole resources, stealing from the Nigerians, stealing from the whole Africa. And they call you poor, not knowing that you are extremely rich, very, very rich. If they can leave you alone, but they will not leave Nigeria or other African countries alone. That is the problem we have. They keep killing the leaders. They keep removing the leaders that are there to do the work for the people. That is the problem we have. And that is why we at Nkoloma have decided to present to you this important interview. Let's continue to listen to him.
Other than the fact that you have knowledge in getting to know what is underneath, you are wasting your time. We are getting misled. We are being abused and being dragged as fools, as animals. There are white people who invest here. They see us as animals. We have gotten to know what you can never imagine. And it is this confidence and these researches that brought us to the fore. Now, General Gawan was removed. There was coup. Murtala came to power. One of the major mistakes of Murtala was his resolve to commission the 3 refineries. Gawan came with. They were not commissioned. His first offense, he didn't know. He was driven by patriotism. He said, I will get them commissioned for them to take off. Not only that, the remaining program of getting 5 additional refineries conceived from the vision by General Gawan will come to fruition. He has already nailed himself. Without knowing, 6 months after General Murtala was killed in a coup, reasons were given, blames were apportioned to some people. Till today, if that coup 1996 is to be revisited, Nigeria 1976, I'm sorry, 1976, Nigerians are in for a shocker because it's a lie. Numerous souls died, and there are no facts to show. But at that time, Daily Times, Gaskiya Tafi Kobo, New Nigeria, newspapers, NTA, Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria were the only means for people to know. Whatever you hear, you accept. Literatures are prepared, news are sent, people believed it. The question is, the numerous unanswered questions are there. And those who did what they did, Murtala came, he wasn't part of the coup, but people...
What Hamza al-Mustapha revealed here again is that those 3 refineries was not commissioned yet when Murtala Mohammed came in. Murtala Mohammed decided to commission those refineries and then to build the additional 5 refineries that Gawan had decided to build. That was the sin that he committed. Then 6 months later, he was removed in power. And he was saying that at that time, news media wasn't much. He mentioned the few newspapers that were operating in Nigeria then, that whatever you hear from those newspapers, you believe it. So all the lies from the colonial masters and their corporations that they were feeding Nigerians were all lies. Let's continue to listen to him.
Ordinarily outside said, no, it was Murtala that removed General Gawan. He didn't know anything. He didn't know anything about the coup. Those who did it, did it. And it was one of the major social setbacks against Nigeria's growth that removed General Gawan. It was a cooked story. and with the aid of the same oil companies, the same foreign unseen hands. Now Gawan left. From 1976 to 1979, nobody touched oil. Routines were going on. No adjustments were done. No single refinery was commissioned.
But they were taking our oil.
Everything was being taken. And then I'll tell you this, and you can quote me. 1977, soon when FASTAG was going on, that was when the beginning of a new mode of oil theft in Nigeria started.
So they used that to distract Nigerians.
You see, Murtala's coup brought shock to Nigeria. The international advisors from the oil sector advised that let there be a social destruction. The whole Africa will come to celebrate in Nigeria. They celebrated, and while that was going on, some certain international unseen hands, the forces that have been destroying Nigeria, now began to test from the honey. That is oil allocation, and oil thefts, all types of what do you call it? All types of this illegal type of domestic bunkering were introduced in Nigeria. So that was the beginning. So bunkering was going on. You see, all your rigs in the sea, there was a time. Anyway, I'll come to that, where I could have been a victim myself. So nobody will tell me, no, you had it or you read it. No, I'm telling you from what I saw when I was a lieutenant myself. So that aside, Murtala left. He couldn't get it done. 1979, President Shagari came to power. Shagari came to power. They now sat down together. And you see, this is one aspect of separating Nigeria. At that time, coincidentally, the leaders of the major political parties, NP, and then was chaired by late Adisa Akinloye of Ibadan. Yoruba Elders Council had led Pa Awolowo and then Adeniran Ogunsanya, chairman of NPP. These three sat down together to say, taking away differences from political issues, to say Shagari should be assisted. Shagari should be assisted to look for resources. But then they now talked to Shagari, and Shagari accepted to do one thing at the beginning. Shagari committed the offense and shot himself on the foot.
What was the offense?
He commissioned the 3 refineries. It was Shagari that did it. Offense number 1.
So our major problem in this country is caused by oil.
It's one of it. It's one of the major issues. I'm coming to talk to you to tell you that whosoever comes to Nigeria without the knowledge of where we were, where we are, and the plans against us to come, starting from this 2023, then definitely we are in for a bigger problems. This is a fundamental issue I'm talking about. Now, Shagari left
after commissioning the
commissioning. Now, 1979 to 1983. That was Shagari. Okay, sorry. That was Shagari that Shagari began to have difficulties. Sorry, because I got one aspect out. Shagari's difficulties started in calling his government of corruption, squandermania, if you remember.
Yes.
How literature were being sent around, how they were now forced to be importing rice, let Umar Idiko and the rest. All these were now put as blames against the government of Shagari. But the offense they committed was the commissioning of the 3 refineries. Then the media were deliberately funded, many consciously and unconsciously, began to now attack and condemn.
The problem that Shagari's government committed, the sin that they committed, is that they are the one that commissioned those 3 oil refineries. Remember, these oil refineries were built in the early 1960s. So from 1979 to 1960, almost 20 years later, was when Shagari commissioned these 3 refineries that we have in Nigeria today. And that commissioning was the sin that led to the problem that he started. Immediately he commissioned those refineries, he started having problem. They started to create problem for him in the government. Those colonial foreign corporations. This is what you have to know. Those are the problems we have in Nigeria as well as other African countries. Let's continue to watch him.
The government. And then also alongside these three elders I talked about, led Adisa Akiloe, Chairman MPN, led Paolo, and led Adeniro Nogonsanya, insist on advising Shagari on taking some economic measures to help the country. 1981, I think, or 1982, there was something called Justice Irikife Commission. That gave birth eventually to his removal. There was coup. One may ask, who did the coup? Whose initiation? How did it happen? General Buhari was in power. Soon after he came to power, General Buhari on arrival also committed the first offense. Refusal to devalue Naira. Refusal to devalue Naira, which was a prerequisite from the foreign unseen hands. Buhari was short-lived. 1985, he left.
Because as at that time, Naira and dollar were
Correct.
So after Shagari commissioned the refineries, they started to plan a coup against Shagari, and eventually they planned a coup against Shagari, and Buhari came in. Buhari removed Shagari, a democratically elected government funded by these oil corporations. And then when Buhari came in, the sin that Buhari committed was refusing to devalue the Naira. They want him to devalue the Naira. So whatever is happening in Nigeria and Biafra land, what is holding us in Biafra land from getting independence, from restoring the Biafran restoration, is still that colonial foreign governments and corporations, because they are the ones benefiting from Nigeria as it is right now. They are the ones benefiting. That is why, as soon as Buhari refused to devalue the Naira, why do they want Naira devalued? You can remember that in the 1970s, Naira and the dollar was even Naira have more value than dollar in the 1970s. But they keep forcing the governments to devalue the Naira. And what is the exchange rate? How much does $1 now exchange for what for Naira? So let's continue to listen to him. This interview is very, very, very important that you shouldn't miss it.
We are not mates.
We're not.
Naira
was stronger
than dollar.
And Naira was being spent in all OPEC countries, including the unseen hands, all these countries. Naira was acceptable, and they were using it direct in their banks.
So continue. Sir.
So the plan to retard Nigeria, alongside this build-up that I'm giving you, as at 1972, when they discovered it was not only oil, but there was also gas in abundance, then they said, whatever it will take, Nigeria must never grow. And at whatever level and whosoever is involved, they will keep Nigeria where it is and never ever to move forward. Lately, I learned after I spoke some 3 years ago in this way concerning the game of keeping Nigeria retarded. Some professors went into some researches, and I learned they discovered quite a lot more. I didn't give insight, but we are holding on to data because we believe it is this information that will guide this country. Now, General Buhari left. Now, in 1985, 1993, General Babangida was in power. When he came to power, he met a lot of challenges. IMF, World Bank, and then this unseen.
He made a revelation here that is very important that I pointed out. That when these foreign companies, these foreign governments realize that Nigeria also have gas, that there's abundant gas in Nigeria, then they decided that nothing good must come out of Nigeria. They have to keep Nigeria stand still. They have to keep Nigeria retarded. And that is where Nigeria is even worse now. You know, that they are the one exploiting all the natural resources, all the oil, all the gas, all the gold, all the californium, and so many other natural resources. That's why it seems like there's poverty in Nigeria and Africa. But Nigeria and Africa are the richest country and continent in the world. Let's continue to listen to him.
In hands came up with their own formulas to withstand the government of the day to do their biddings. General Babangida had a lot of problems to be able to wiggle out. There was SAP. People protested. It began to affect the economy of this country. But at the end of the day, Babangida now began to do a lot more insight on projects like People's Bank, like so many welfare schemes, so many loans. And then at the end of the day, that couldn't work. He too had to leave in 1993. But at the end of the day, Nigeria had already been affected. The international dirty oil politics had gotten stronger. The number of types of bunkering in Nigeria had increased up to 7 as at 1993 that I knew of. There were 7. There are international people like the case that was brought by channels lately. I can see ignorance playing a role. The question is, that point where they saw a point that illegal oil was being taken some 5 kilometers into the sea, there are registered ships coming to take forward on behalf of some of the foreign unseen hands for themselves. So they are making billions. Nigeria is busy borrowing. People can't eat. And yet we are one of the richest. And so the oil is nothing but a cost.
And those ships were unregistered ships.
Yes, unregistered. They don't come with number. They take, and there is an arrangement from so-so period to so-so period. You see not. And it goes to the international waters. Numerous naval officers lost their jobs, lost their career out of love and protecting Nigeria's resources before. So when this particular one came to the fore, I will give you an instance, even though I will do it at the end of the day. You remember it was soon after that was discovered. Then there was a signal and an alert that there was plan to attack Nigeria and Boko Haram was coming to the center. So why did that information didn't follow regular reportage? Why the confidentiality? In around the whole world, embassies should report to the foreign affairs. That security outfit should investigate in collaboration with the domestic. Now you went to radio, you went to television, you brought friction. You now brought scare against Nigeria and Nigeria's investors. You remember? Lately, it was just simply because of that. And ignorantly, it was channels out of patriotism. Some of their reporters say, this is our country. There's pilferage. There's this. That is an excellent job. But the reporter that did that and the journalist that did that
was ignorant.
Ignorant because they do not know the higher dirty dimension of the game. That's why some of us, when it was happening, we laughed. But some of the security chiefs in this country, some of us spoke to them.
It might interest you to know that some journalists in Nigeria are not patriotic.
No, some are, some are not.
Some are not. Some do not even believe in this country.
I know.
Some are working against the progress of this country.
That I know.
Some are in the payroll of some of the people destroying this country.
That is a fact.
And they will never report anything positive about Nigeria.
I will come to that.
Thank you. Continue.
I will come to that. Now, Babangida left. General Abacha came to power. When General Abacha came to power, numerous things happened. First of all, he was also confronted by IMF, World Bank, and some of these unseen sons on the same issue that led to the failure of General Buhari when he was military head of state, currency devaluation. General Abacha now fought to say, instead of that, we shall establish economic council that is strong and big enough, and we will comply based on practicality. Naira was tagged, everybody knew, to 82 in black market, 22 in official rate. That was the first time Abacha shot himself on the foot. The second, Abacha now didn't stop there. He said, there are opportunities open for us to create LNG for Nigeria and for Africa. A source, correct. A source for us to fall back to as a rich country that is blessed. Abacha shot himself, number 3. Second, Abacha had an option to allow all the refineries to die. So there will be importing oil. Abacha refused. It was in this process, I will tell you something here, that is my own experience. One of the GMDs ran to me in the night and said, and I quote, "My life is in danger." The memo was submitted
GMD of NNPC.
GMD of one of MD of one of the refineries. He came to me. He later became GMD. He talked to. He said I should save him. What? He said there are some certain forces from the Ministry of Petroleum and NNPC itself that have submitted memo to the president. He said everything in that memo, all the hundreds of millions of dollars are lies. How? He now come to tell me. He said, don't you see, go take the memos and take a look at them. We opened the office of the president late in the night. I brought out all these memos and we went through. We took dictionary.
Before we continue with this one, I want to point out some points that he made here, how Abacha, the general he's advising, also committed his own crime. That these foreigners came and told him to devalue the naira. He said no. They told him to, and then he said he wants to have liquefied natural gas so that for Nigerians to be using gas in their households and all those things. These foreigners didn't like it. Let's go to watch him.
They said, get any type of dictionary in the world. These spare parts, they said, to be able to achieve turnaround maintenance. Look at this word. I saw a word I cannot pronounce. But the amount of money per unit, per hundreds of units required to be able to do turnaround maintenance was scary. He said, pronounce this name. Was okay, let's look for it in dictionary. Anything. Okay, let's look at petrochemical dictionary. Began to resort to call people no meaning.
Fabricated words.
They fabricate what they do. If, for example, television, the word television is in dictionary. Before the word T, they will add some figures and some letters. In between television, they will add some more. At the end, they will add some more. How do you pronounce it? That is the way it is. Now you see allocated to that. Say per unit, for example, $50,000 times 3,000. In the meantime, is nothing. It's just a game. So at the end of the day, you see, to be able to do turnaround maintenance, the colossal amount of money is too huge. And
it's even enough to build fresh refineries. Even
medium refineries at the end of the day. And then the moment you do turnaround maintenance, you will be settled with the word sabotage. Is no longer functioning. Brain box, brain this. At the end of the day, so presidents over presidents and presidents, they have not spoken. But I know numerous presidents of Nigeria have had these colossal problems. It was a game. Just for you not to produce. You have oil, you can't manage. It's stage managed. Nigerians are used as agents, and then they retired in Nigeria. In every inch, they were making money. These were type of games. This happened with me. Now, another thing was the issue of Vision 2010. After Abacha left, was halted. It couldn't go. PTF was halted. It couldn't go. The issue of plan for dredging were halted. These were to make Nigeria great. Abacha was now abused, called names. They terminated him. Up to now, they are abusing him. So, but to dig deep into the real tenure of the history of the government is today an offense. Many newspaper houses will not accept. Many journalists will not accept. They have already the old literature in their minds formed, and this is the way it was. Now, 1999 to 2007. Jonathan
before we go to 1999, before we get to, remember, it was Abacha General Abacha was the last military leader of Nigeria before we get to 1999 Democrat, the current Democrat that Nigeria is practicing. But what he said here is that when General Abacha rejected all those offers from the colonial masters and their companies, that was when he got into trouble. They started to call him name. They started to set all kind of trap for him. That's why they never call him a good name. because he said no. Whatever he brings, he said no. And this will now tell you why they were after him. That is why they killed him. So General Abacha may not be that bad as the colonial masters and the corporations, the oil companies, are presenting to Nigerians or Africans at that time. He may just be like Idi Amin of Uganda, who was trying to protect Africa. And they were, painting him black, that he's this and that. So General Abacha is not that a bad man from this interview. You can see that because he was opposing the colonial masters, because he was rejecting all their bad offers for the country. That is why they were admonizing him, they were abusing him, they call him all sorts of names. And because of what he did, even after they killed him, they continue to, make sure that his name is rubbish in Nigeria. And we are all believing them. This is why this lecture is very, very, very important. Let's continue to listen to him.
1999, there was a government. But rather than allowing the turnaround maintenance, now democracy, this democracy we are talking about, rather than building more refineries, even if they are medium, something devilish was introduced. It is called subsidy. The same thing Tafawa Balewa rejected and Dik. The same thing Murtala rejected. The same thing Gawan rejected that gave birth to their exits now was reintroduced in a bigger manner, in the dirtiest manner. At this time, some new additional types of bunkering were introduced in Nigeria, which is the type Channel newspaper just discovered oil theft lately. It's an old thing. There are too many in thousands and thousands in your onshore, offshore locations where you have your riches. Nigerians are far away from knowing this. So that came to the fore. The subsidy continued till this moment. And then refineries were stopped from working. But importation was the order. Now this continued until President Jonathan came. President Jonathan came and Okonjo-Iweala took it upon herself, knowing the colossal of money being spent as Minister of Finance, out of patriotism, out of love of Nigeria, knowing the resources we have. She stood her ground. What happened to her? Her parents harassed, her mother kidnapped. She had to keep quiet. Subsidy had to continue. All the rallies we have had on subsidy, the elites involved are taking money to get it promoted. And nobody could stop it. The government of the day, President Buhari, in one of his promises, campaign promises to Nigerians, is what? Stop subsidy. He said so. And then the major question he asked in one of his campaigns is, who is subsidizing who? When we get there, we'll sort it out. He has been here 7 years plus, subsidy is getting stronger. The question is whose investment is the subsidy? Who is killing the refineries? You are now discovering more oil in Northeast. What is to come? There are already investments going on another type first of bunkering. Another type, bunkering on land, away and far away from sea. We are going to see something unless we have a leadership that care for Nigeria, that will carry Nigerians along, that will get Nigerians educated, that will create a barrier from this monster and the managers of the monster at home and outside. We are in for a very big problems. And so the tiny little peanuts they are being given, many of our elders, many of those who are opportunistic, they found themselves in places, whether as civil servants or as politicians, are the problems of this country, not the majority poor who don't even know what is going on.
He's saying that
this is as at today. Now, the question I'm talking about.
He's saying that majority of Nigerians are receiving peanuts, Africans receiving peanuts from the colonial masters and their agents to betray their brothers and continue their impunity in our land, in Africa, in Nigeria, in Biafra land. Our people are involved. So anybody supporting Nigeria as it is today is benefiting from the system. And what you are benefiting is just peanuts to allow the foreigners, the foreign colonial masters and their companies to be stealing what belongs to all of us. Think twice about your actions. Stop colliding with foreign colonial masters against your own people. Let's continue to watch him.
Out. This is concerning oil only. Oil that we have and Northeast in Nigeria. Northeast, to start with, designed by God Almighty, is the richest part of Africa. Nobody, no part of Africa is as rich as Northeastern Nigeria. Anything on Eastern Nigeria is rich. Southeast, the amount of stones, the amount of oil and gas, coal and gold are enormous. People don't know. You see in Southeast, even this red sand, you see that in the ancient day, when people get married, they take the red sand and adorn their huts. It's gold.
Gold?
Yes. Chinese are taking it today in hundreds of thousands of containers. They are taking it to the sea. You don't have the machine to refine it.
The northeastern Nigeria is one of the richest area in the world. The northeastern Nigeria is one of the richest places in the world. If you know what is underground there, that is what he's saying. And also southeastern Nigeria, Biafra land, eastern Nigeria also have a lot of oil and gas and gold and so many resources. That is what he's saying. But we don't know. Many of us are abroad. You are in Abuja, you are in Lagos, you are in Senegal, you are in United Kingdom, in France, in America, in Canada. You are in China. You are running out from the land. You don't know that your land is one of the richest land that we have in the world. And it is your national resources that will go to help you to develop your land, not individual. Let's continue to watch.
But for how long have they been doing that? And at any time you ask, they say, no, we are taking your son to prepare fertilizer for you. And then immigration, custom, and police every day. That's why custom, if they are to talk to at the departure point, in all our seaports, Port Harcourt, Calabar, Warri, Tinkan Island, Apapa Port, ask custom. All these things they are taking out. What excuses were they given? If these things are real, they are going making fertilizer for Nigeria's usage. How much are they paying you to take it out?
What stops us from producing our own fertilizer in Nigeria?
I'm coming to talk to you on even fertilizer and the game being played against us.
So,
fertilizer alone is another heavy, serious, dangerous matter. This is going on. Unabated, hundreds of billions of dollars are being made. This country is rich as it is, becoming impoverished every day. I give you an example before I go into agriculture, fertilizer. The budget 2022 is a budget of deficit. No leader can look at it and go by the yardstick of management of economy of any country to say the provisions in that budget is what you will use, and then there will be succor for Nigerians when 2024 comes. It will be a big problem to manage 2023 with that budget. There will be lots of social problems. That's why we, on our own and out of patriotism, now decided to look at Nigeria from outside, from electronic means openings. Nobody gave us one kobo. But there are foreigners who care for Nigeria. There are institutions who care for Nigeria around the world. They receive us. We have data.
You have data.
We have data. If you give me opportunity, I know how to create hundreds of billions for Nigeria with ease. And if we are settled as commander-in-chief, I guarantee you, mark this statement, record this, and air it to everybody. Tell them, I say, I know how to create trillions, 2.7 trillion per annum using what God has given us, using international market, minus the unseen hand that have been destroying us since 1956. There is a game. God didn't consult any of us to say, I'm creating you a Nigerian. God didn't consult us to say, I have given you these resources. He subjected us to come as Nigerians to face trial to know who we are, where we are, and what to do with it. How come we are rich, we don't care for ourselves? How come the poorest poor are being regarded and counted with us as Nigerians? How come we be this rich and we are counted among the poorest of the poor with hopelessness? How come any story, any literature that comes to the fore, you will see it in newspapers, you will hear it in some radios, you will hear it on some televisions. Did you see the other side of the coin? Who is manufacturing these stories? It was the formula accepted that destroyed many of our past leaders in power in 1972. Nigeria must never grow. That was the title.
Hey, as you can see, the question he's asking, which we want to ask you, is this. How did you decide to be born as a Biafran? Did you decide in your mother's womb to be born as a Biafran in Biafra land? The answer is no. Did you decide to be born in Africa? The answer is no. Did you decide to be born in Biafra land where you have a lot of natural resources? No, God gave it to you. So why now? Why can't you make sure that you are the one controlling that natural resources? Why should you leave it in the hand of somebody else? Why must you be listening to the lies of the colonial masters and their corporations, who are the ones that are exploiting and extorting and stealing these natural resources from us and impoverishing us and making us look poor while we are rich? Why should we continue in that way? Why should you continue to support such a thing? It is time we come together to get what belongs to us, to control our resources, because we cannot have all those resources and other people are using it while we are scavenging both in Nigeria and around the world. It is too bad and pathetic. Let us listen to him for a few more minutes before we call it a day. Thank you very much for joining us today. Thank you.
Nigeria must never grow.
That's why in 1981, when Shagari was going ahead to now commission the refineries, re-evaluation of Nigeria said, and I quote, "From our discoveries, it is evident that the 360 precious stones all exist in Nigeria. But it is more disturbing that these 360 precious stones exist in Nigeria. They also have oil and see another outlet for gas reserve in the same country." So they concluded Nigeria was given code name 360 plus. At any time you see in their briefs the word 360 in inverted comma plus, that is Nigeria.
Hey!
And many of our elders attended meetings. They came across the letter 360 plus
without knowing.
They don't know. I'm telling you, you can quote me, bring any former president, any former parliament, call me anywhere in the world. I will look into the eyes to tell them what we discovered. And that's why the rest we're inching towards 2023 is another investment, is another jamboree. Nigeria is being misled. That's why there is the need. Any patriot, man or woman, northerner or southerner, there is the need to come together to think and reflect.
You heard what he said, that Nigeria have all the 360 natural stones in the world is in Nigeria. And then these colonial masters concluded that Nigeria will never grow, that Nigeria will be static, that Nigeria will not go anywhere as a country. And the same way they are holding Nigeria, the same way they are holding Biafra. Because they know that if Biafra leaves, Biafra will take care of their own resources. Biafra will not allow them to continue to steal our resources. And so that is why they're causing all these problems against the restoration of Biafra. That is what we want you to know. And he said that they developed this code name, 360 plus, that once you hear or see 360 plus, that it is referring to Nigeria, referring to the 360 precious stones that are in Nigeria, plus their oil and gas, and that they will not allow Nigeria to grow. They will not allow Biafra to be restored. This is what we want you to know. Very, 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 very important. Let's listen to him for a few more minutes. Thank you very much.
Over Nigeria and our future. We have been taken for a ride. We are a typical Nigerian is knowledgeable, is resilient, is committed, he's a patriot. But the rotten ones who have seen tiny peanuts, which to me is a shame. I tell you, let me tell you this. From the few stones, including the type you are talking about in Abuja, yes, what they brought you here is lithium. The richest man in the world is the richest because of his investment in lithium. All the 19 northern states of Nigeria have lithium. There are 6 southern states with lithium, southeast and south-south, 6. Add it up all together. The smallest you can find is that of Kebbi State. You know the worth in Kebbi State lithium? 305 billion by satellite estimate. Dollar. $1 billion.
And it's the smallest.
Kebbi is poor. It's the smallest. You don't need anybody's help. Everybody needs your help. You don't need anybody's help. Everybody needs your help. This is the world leadership. This is world market. This is the world center. You are returned as animals. How can I sit down and say, I have now grown older, I'm no longer strong, and my kids?
He revealed here that there's lithium in Nigeria, and there's lithium in Biafra land. There's a large deposit of lithium in Biafra land. And you are there in Lagos or Abuja or America or United Kingdom or us or France or anywhere else, Australia, and you're there suffering. But you have lithium, precious stones, oil and gas, coal, and so many other natural resources in our land that belong to us. It is very painful. Let's continue to listen to him.
Kids have been torn as slaves, while I had the knowledge in knowing who we are within Committee of Nations in the world. And because of fear of someone, we refuse to talk. What am I going to go to tell God Almighty? That I fear mankind, not God Almighty? What will be my name? Am I a father? And then you are calling candidates to come to talk on simple elementary economics on how to turn around things in Nigeria. When I'm too big, I have a cow. You are now telling me on how to share a horn. And I'm busy spending hours on investment telling lies on how to share a horn. I have a whole cow. What the hell is a horn? Horn is a button. Of what consequence, of what relevance is a horn when I have a cow?
You may even decide to remove the horn.
The horn, I don't need it. If it is horn, that is the problem. Take the horn, I dash you.
Leave my cow.
How come whole, what do you call it? Town hall meetings, blah, blah. You're talking on tiny little element. And that's why some of us are disgusted and disturbed. That's why we went on researches to know who we are and what we have. That's why we even don't join some of the issues. We have not come to the public to say we are campaigning. We are about to start. But our concern is education, sensitization to now.
And with this, we shall end this interview. Now, after you have listened to this interview and see that what is going on in Nigeria is from the colonial masters and their corporations. They are the one causing all the problem in Nigeria, not only in Nigeria, but in Africa as a whole. That all the leaders that Nigeria have good intention for the country, but they are the one that is removing them through all these cues. And then the reason they don't like General Abacha is that General Abacha refused when they came to tell him to devalue the currency. When they also rejected General Abacha's suggestion to have liquefied natural gas for everybody in Nigeria. And now, can you see that General Abacha is not that bad as being presented by the colonial masters? Because always we want to listen to the news from BBC or CNN or any of those foreign news or Al Jazeera. You don't know that they are feeding you lies. They are deceiving you so that you can remain poor. That is one thing we want you to know. And for you to know that General Abacha has been presented to us, is not really a bad person. And also that it is these colonial masters and their corporations that are preventing the Biafran Restoration Project, because they know that if Biafra is restored, they will not be able to be stealing and exploiting the natural resources in Biafra land. That is why they are against the Biafran restoration. That is all these things that we want you to know. Now, as this Hamza Mustapha is coming to run for election in 2027, do you think that those colonial masters and their foreign interests will allow him to get close to winning? No, at the end of the day, they will select Tinubu again because Tinubu is doing what they want. Tinubu is allowing them to get what they want. So why would they not give it to Tinubu that is allowing them than give it to this man or Peter Obi? That is the problem. So the problem of Nigeria and Africa is the interference of the colonial masters and their corporations in our land. That is what we want you to know. And to know that our land is filled with different natural resources and that our people should come and unite together so that we can be able to take control of this our natural resources for the betterment of our people instead of the current poverty and migration that is in vogue in our land. How can we have trillions and trillions worth of natural resources in our land and we leave it to be scavenging in Nigeria and around the world? And with this, we shall bring today's lecture to an end. Thank you very much for joining us today. Also, the full video for this interview is in our description page. You can go to our description page. You will see the full video of this interview. We encourage you to listen to this interview because it is very, very, very important, very, very, very educative for you to understand what is going on, not only in Nigeria, not only against Nigeria and Biafra, but against the whole Africa as a continent. Thank you very much for joining us. Please like, comment, and share, and also subscribe to our YouTube channel by pressing that bell button. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and you will not regret that you did. Thank you very much, and have a good day. Bye-bye.